A serious Christian desires to be led by God. The process is similar with human leaders. The 5 principles a human leader would like for success from their workers is for them to be one with him or her by understanding what he or she wants, feeling joy through the work, accepting possible risks, and confidently following his or her direction and giving credit to their leadership. To further follow God, it's helpful to consider which of these basic principles might be your strength and which one you should be working on. I had the privilege in the late 1980s at St. Mary's of hearing Father Bob Bedard preach deep teachings on these 5 fundamentals that help parishioners follow God. It led as well to producing many local and even international ministries. As shown in the book, Permission Granted, St. Mary's was one of the most successful Catholic parishes in North America over the last 50 years. Here's Father Bob's preaching on the 3rd key fundamental of deep leadership, which is to accept any risk that your leader gives you, even if it appears to hurt your joy. Declining a risk is a common procedure where your leader is human. To fully commit to accepting any risk that God sends you requires a deep commitment to God. In the St. Mary's Weekly Bulletin, Father Bob always added this dangerous prayer: "Caution needed. Lord, I will do whatever you want." The willingness to do whatever a leader directs is full acceptance of the leader. Here is Father Bob preaching on the difficulty of fully accepting God.
For the Lord to speak to us is we have to want to know. And it sounds so simple, and yet sometimes it isn't so. Many people are afraid to know. Afraid to know what God would want. Why would they be afraid, I wonder? Anybody suggest an answer to that? Why would anybody be afraid of what God would want him or her to do? That's right. You got the word right there. Because they're afraid he might ask them to change something. And as we get older, the older we get, the more of a threat it is for somebody to suggest, particularly God, to say he wants something changed. That's threatening. We don't like to hear that. Somebody walks up to me and says, "You got to change something." I don't particularly care for that. I don't like that manner of doing it. But it's a very basic choice. And it's a tough choice to decide, I want to know what God is saying to me. I want to know what he's got in mind, what he wants from me, or from us, or from our family.
Here is another homily from Father Bob.
The Lord is saying, I want my power. I want my power to be spoken into this situation. I want people to see my power, because there's a reason for the power of God. It's not just power for the sake of power. There's a reason. The power of God, the signs and wonders, are intended by him to convert those who don't believe. That's what they're for. And that was committed to the church right in the beginning. And the world and the church desperately need to experience the power of God today. And the Lord is ready to do it. And how do I know that? Because I've seen him doing things. I've seen God's power. Might be able to give you a few examples of what I've seen maybe tomorrow. He wants us to get together and be church. He wants right relationships. He wants committed relationships. It's not just a matter of getting fed. It's not just a matter of getting healed and feeling good. It's a matter of getting committed and doing the task that God appoints to us. God is not fooling around today. He wants us to focus on His Son, Jesus. He wants us, and this is important, to give Him permission to do what He wants to do. And that's where the dangerous prayer comes in. You will find, if you begin to say that, if you haven't already, and perhaps could tell us yourself, you will find that your priorities will all change. That your agenda will become quite different. That your respectability will probably suffer. That has been one of the things that I have given up with reluctance. I used to be very respectable. I used to be solid. I used to have a lot of common sense. Now I haven't got any. And that hasn't been easy. But you'll find those things will happen. I used to be a hard-headed educator, running a school, hammering knowledge and discipline into young people's lives, I thought. It didn't work, by the way. But I thought I was good at it. Most unlikely candidate for religious and spiritual revival. And yet here I am, I guess, in the middle of it. And we have to ask for the wisdom of God. Ask for the wisdom of God to know what to do. That's what His wisdom is, to tell us what to do.
Do you really feel that you can give up power and respectability in your life? We cannot expect to be perfect, but we should seek to improve letting God control our actions. Father Bob's teachings certainly helped St. Mary's parishioners follow God even when they faced risks.